Peter Rubin over at Wired just posted an article talking about the PlayStation 5 starting to look like the revolution that it promised. There's some really interesting tidbits that came out of this article, and I wanted to talk about it today. I will post a link to this in the description below, so if you don't want to take my word for it, I recommend you click on that link. And while you're down there, subscribe and obviously read the article for yourself, because Wired is a pretty good publication, and I gotta say that I like their work, so support them, okay? And support me too. Okay, this is a very interesting kind of snapshot of where PlayStation is, and I want to preface this all by saying that the world is still in COVID. Production is still in the toilet. Logistics are still in the toilet. We know that. Everybody knows that. Yet, the game industry will continue to ramp up for the inevitable other shoe to drop as semiconductors flow more freely, as the production lines continue to expand, as people get more comfortable going out, putting less of a strain on the logistical impact, at least here in the United States. So you're going to see more consoles ramping up over time. That's inevitable. Obviously, with supply and demand, the fact that the PlayStation is a very sought-after piece of technology makes it virtually impossible to keep any stock on store shelves, and you've got yourself a whirlwind of excitement. Now, you know me, I'm a Sony Pony. Who's rocking a Gears shirt, by the way? But I'll tell you what, I'm excited for what I hear, and one of the things I think we can all collectively agree, whether you're a Sony guy, whether you're an Xbox guy, whether you're my other hat, PC Master Racer, is that we have not yet seen that explosion of phenomenal great games, next generation games, for really any platform in quite a while. Development obviously has been stinted due to teleworking arrangements, and news and information seems harder to flow between remote sites instead of everybody being in a physical space. Once again, thanks COVID. But it's no mystery or no surprise, really, that we have been kind of waiting for something good to happen. Returnal, phenomenal game. I adore it. I've got a review on my channel. You go check it out and see what I think about it. Ratchet and Clank is coming soon. Over on the Xbox side, we know we have Halo Infinite coming out. There's some other big games that have been floating out there without a specific date, so we're still kind of waiting to see how this evolves. Keep in mind, and then we'll get into the article, we are in a transition time still where a lot of people, an overwhelming majority of people, still own PlayStation 4, still own Xbox One X, haven't yet either financially been able to make the jump, or haven't been able to make the jump because they can't even if they wanted to. So you're kind of in this weird mode, but it seems like Sony is now ready to go headfirst into the next generation, which is what I want to see. The beginning part of this article really kind of talks about the console wars and about the stage being set for what was inevitable, the PlayStation 5 launch release. Of course, you saw it here pretty much live. Phil and I did a War Never Changes, where we were so giddy with excitement knowing that it was coming out, seeing the trailer, being hyped, waiting for pre-orders to go live. It was a very exciting time. And then the dust somewhat settled as the console came out, and the initial boom of games, Demon's Souls and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, all launched in a very quick amount of time. And then, nothing. So we've been patiently waiting. But despite that, there has been a wild demand for every console. It is impossible right now to pick up either console. PlayStation's still incredibly difficult to obtain. Still, in my opinion, the more popular of the two consoles. And I'm not going to get into Game Pass or PlayStation's lack of Game Pass. I'll just say that a lot of people really appreciate the PlayStation exclusives. And PlayStation has been slowly expanding and kind of building up that machine. Something I kind of think they should have done prior to the release of the console so that we would have had a 6-month head start. But hey, we're getting there. This article talks about some of the beautiful things like the solid state drive that the PlayStation 5 supports, the 3D audio capabilities that I've been hot and cold, mostly cold on. Unless you're Resident Evil Village or unless you're Returnal, I would have to say the 3D audio is not very good. And then obviously the DualSense controller, which is a phenomenal piece of hardware, a must-have, and absolutely, when used correctly, radically changes the way a game feels and the way a game plays. So that's kind of setting the stage for where we're at. They talk a little bit about Mark Cerny and how Mark Cerny, being kind of the lead engineer for Sony, really kind of sitting back in his, very Mark Cerny-esque way, saying how wonderful the conversations have been with industry partners and how the PlayStation 4 really wasn't as powerful as people wanted, but they've fixed all of that, except for the UI, but he doesn't say that, in the PlayStation 5, and how that, developers are flocking into PlayStation 5. It's a glorious time. We're not just dealing with indies anymore. We're dealing with big AAA companies wanting to throw everything they have at this platform, wanting to push and eke out every little bit of performance from it. And that's kind of where we find ourselves now. The dust has settled. We're 6 months in. The thing is slowly rolling out. You're seeing games like Returnal rolling out that radically push the boundaries for what PlayStation can be, can radically change the way it feels with the 3D audio and the haptic sound working in a really nice concert with the technology behind the graphics card and the solid state drive, and you've got yourself a phenomenal experience. But that is not all. That is really just kind of where we're at. Herman Hulst, the Guerrilla CEO, or was he a CEO? I know he was the co-founder. He ultimately replaces our man Sean, and Sean Layton retired abruptly. Still not really clear what happened there, but Herman takes over the helm in 2019 and announces that there are 25 new titles in development for PlayStation 5, with nearly half of them being entirely new IP. And he says, and I quote, "There's an incredible amount of variety originating from different regions, big, small, different genres." That is really, really exciting, guys. Now, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, yeah, why wouldn't Sony continue to make new games? Of course they do. And you're right. And just because there are 25 games, half of which are new IP, are in the works, some of these games are incredibly slow burns. Look at games like Elden Ring that has been teased seemingly forever ago, or Skull and Bones, which Ubisoft just announced the other day had been delayed yet again, or Beyond Good and Evil 2 if you want to continue down that road, or Elder Scrolls 6, take your pick. Game development takes a long time to be done. It takes an even longer time to be done right, and it takes even a longer time considering the state of the world and the remote telework policies and how slow production has been across the board. So we are seeing and knowing that companies are working on stuff, but the fact that Sony is willing to say this early on, they have that many original IP in development, gets me really, really excited. And you have to go back and look at the pedigree of PlayStation original IP to really see just how phenomenal their games have been over the years. And this isn't a Sony versus a PlayStation thing. Microsoft is this isn't a PlayStation versus Xbox thing, where Microsoft has been taking a slightly different approach in acquiring massive amounts of studios, which still have not borne a lot of fruit. Like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice 2 has been in development now for ever. I don't know what's going on over there. Like, where's my game, bro? It seems though that we're really starting to see Sony ramping up in a way that I wouldn't say they couldn't do before. They don't have the money Microsoft has. They never have had. So Microsoft can throw and fund 20 studios at once, while PlayStation does have a lot of feeder studios that help out. You guys know as well as I do, games take a lot of time, they cost a lot of money, and Sony doesn't have that kind of money to throw around. But it's nice to see that they are committing to what has made Sony with that incredibly strong first-party lineup. And that, I think, is real exciting, especially when you see the insane amount of fan reaction from haptic feedback and from 3D audio and solid-state drives. And who knows what this Discord marriage may or may not bring coming in early 2022. But it seems like Sony actually has a really solid framework. they're not hampered by that really bug of a operating system that the PlayStation 3 was, with that incredibly difficult system to code on that everybody hated. It seems like they're not limited by a very lackluster CPU that was present in the PlayStation 4. They still managed to eke out some great games, but let's face it, that GPU was not so good, right? It struggled. They've got everything. They've got the hardware. They've got the talent. They've got the peripherals that are putting everything together. And I think we are in for a real treat. So we'll have to wait and see, what actually comes to fruition. A lot of people looking at PlayStation right now, looking at Jim Ryan right now, kind of wondering, like, what's this guy up to? I posted a funny thing on my Instagram of Fred from Scooby-Doo tying up the bandit, who was Jim Ryan, and pulling off his face, and it was none other than our boy Don Matrick. As you know, Don Matrick absolutely tanked Microsoft. So interesting to see that some of those analogies are being made with Jim Ryan, but with Herman at the helm, although he's under Jim Ryan, with a lot of great sales that they've had on Returnal and a lot of excitement surrounding what the PlayStation 5 can offer, I think in the next few years, everybody's going to be a Sony pony, and I can't wait to go along on the ride with everyone else. As I mentioned, I will post a link to this article below. Do yourself a favor, read it in its entirety. It's a really good read. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.